He said, I'm here for the list.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm glad.
If you want that.
He came to start the initial assessment on the capabilities for the hospital to be a regional vaccine center.
Well, you came over here?
Yes, sir.
I told
Yeah, I knew about it maybe the night before. Wilder had the heads up, and he knew 11.
I talked to Dan from Ephraim. He stopped in a while ago, and he's just got I guess he has got concerns about being able to vaccinate that many people. He said without having like a bigger location to do it.
Well, right now, we're not on yet, but the showroom out there, the people on that are maybe stepping up as an augmentation too.
Is that Robinson on that?
Yeah.
Well, everywhere they can get shots.
They're in. Okay. Let's see, who we missing?
See Jamie on there.
Tom and Jamie. We still have quorum.
Oh, yeah.
All right, I got 9 o'clock for us, fans. All right, we'll call this regularly scheduled January 26th session of the court into order. And I would like to begin with the invocation. I ask you to end your pray with me. Dear Lord, we come together and as a fiscal court, we ask that you give us guidance and direction on things that we need to do, issues we need to work, who we need to talk with, all those things connected to improving the quality of life for people in this county that we are serving, dear Lord. We ask that you give us the guidance and direction on how to go about being the best that we can be, everything that we do. We ask for your grace and your mercy to be poured out on those that are going through, all of us that are going through this pandemic, dear Lord. Give us the wisdom to do what is right for us physically in every regard. We ask that you watch over and protect us, dear Lord, as we go about our daily business and our daily lives, that you protect us from sickness, ill health, and from any attacks by those that want to do harm to us. So, dear Lord, we ask that in our prayers that we lift you up, and lift this county up to you, for it to be for you to be of great service to all those in this county. And we ask for your continued guidance and blessing on us as a county and as a court and as the people who are here to serve you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. I would like to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Thank you. And we'll entertain a motion about the minutes. We have a motion to approve the minutes. Made by Matthew Salmon and seconded by
Colin.
Matthew Cullen. All right. Is there any discussion, changes, deletions? There being none, I would say we have none, no matches on the screen, so we'll do a voice vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, and the motion carries. Thank you. We do have quorum.
We heard from Tom.
So I talked to him yesterday afternoon. He was scheduled to be on, and as far as I know, Jamie was too. Now let's approve some bills. Miss Mariah, are you on?
Yeah, I'm right here.
Okay, good.
Okay, so for the total for bills to be
No,
approved
it's
for
We
payment.
haven't heard you yet.
We have $300,967.68.
I'll let Bill know.
The standing orders total $353,051.97.
Does anybody have any questions about the bills?
Move to approve the bills. Second.
Motion made to approve the bills, Manager Short, seconded by Manager Simmons. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. The bills will be paid. Thank you.
The general,
Yes, sir.
Tom says he's been on for 15 minutes. I don't know if Bill can,
Bill, if you can hear us, Magistrate Ellis said he's been on the phone for 15 minutes, but I do not see him screen wise.
I haven't called Jamie too. Make sure he's good.
Okay.
Ron.
Hey, sir. Ring Central?
It's
Yes.
this is
Do you see Jamie up there? Jamie Peyton?
yeah,
No, Jamie Gay.
he's not up there. Jamie Gay's not on, nor is Tom. You might want,
Look at our participants. It says there's 10 and
there's 10 participants and there's not, yeah, there is.
Says they're waiting for the, to be let in, I guess. Right?
waiting for host to start the meeting. Okay,
Yeah, waiting for us to start the meeting.
Bill.
They say waiting for host to start the meeting. That's your delay. That's your delay coming down the backside.
Okay. No, Jamie's on Ring Central and he's gonna leave and try and come back in.
Hey, I need to, Bill, are we waiting for something to happen? If not, we'll proceed.
Yeah, especially if we didn't sit in here. It just,
I apologize to everybody that's on the screen, but, we're having a technical difficulty with a couple magistrates not being able to be on and they're trying to get in. How's that chair moving without anybody sitting in it?
That's short.
All right,
oh, that is creepy.
All right. Bill, you can keep trying to get them in. I asked, and if you can help and assist Bill on the Ring Central connection that was emailed out. So I don't know what's going on, but we need to move along. We'll be here all day.
Jamie just sent me a screenshot. Says it's on Ring Central. So it just says, please wait for the host to start the meeting. Huh? I don't have that. It's the second Tuesday fiscal court.
Yeah, these be on the 4th Tuesday.
Oh, look at that. Okay. Well, that makes sense.
While this is being worked out, I think we need to move along with discussing the budget transfers. And I'll ask Keegan to first discuss those and then discuss cash.
Okay. We had a few from reserve to EMA utilities, from reserve to recycling equipment such repairs and maintenance. A big one was me and the judge and Judge Woodford and Deputy Halderman all had a meeting and came up with what we were going to do because the reserve for the jail was a little low. And we went through their whole budget there and found a couple places that we could pull from, and we put money back in the reserve. So hopefully that's going to cover us for transfers for the next few months, hopefully all the way through. That's it for budget transfers.
All right. Entertain a motion.
So moved.
Motion made to approve the budget transfers. Is there a second?
Second.
Budget motion was made by Magic Kaywood, second by Magic Sammons. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those like sign, motion carries. All right, cash transfers.
The only cash transfer we have is from the general fund to the EMS fund for $50,000 for EMS operations.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the cash transfer? Motion made by Magic Salmon, seconded by Magic Short. Discussion on the cash transfer. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those like sign, the motion carries. Thank you. All right. Are we making progress, Ann, William, on getting everybody on?
Robin Hart said she couldn't find it either. She couldn't hear anything either, but
Robin, I see you're on the screen. Can you hear us or not? You're muted. Jamie Gay's coming on. There he is. We see him now. Can you
There
see
you go.
us?
Yeah, I just have a hard time. It just following directions and reading is problematic for me.
I think it was.
I was reading it as the second meeting of the month. Sorry.
Not the second Tuesday or the fourth Tuesday. Right.
Right.
I sent him a text too.
Okay. Hopefully we can get Tom on.
Well, this could be a quick meeting if done.
We're moving right along. Yep, there he is. Tom, are you on?
Good morning, gentlemen and ladies. Tom Ellis here.
We've kind of slow stepped it a little bit, but we've passed the minutes and we've passed the cash and the budget transfers, but we haven't got anything past that yet.
We just adjourned too, Tom.
And we did. He got the thumbs up on the adjournment.
Funny how this is not the fourth Tuesday.
It's not.
Okay,
26.
never mind.
Okay.
I know, Tom. I struggle with reading directions as well.
All right, we're moving right along. Moving right along, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen. We have with us today Jamie Peyton from the Convention and Visitors Bureau. And Jamie, I apologize for the technical difficulties we've had. It's good to see you. Glad you're on, and look forward to hearing what you have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge. Well, first of all, it's great to see everybody, and I could not be more excited to be back. There was a point I was out for 8 months, and it was looking a little grim. So I'm really, really happy to be back and working in the community again. As far as updates, it's been just a whole lot of getting acclimated back to the office. It's just me now, so trying to figure out ways that things can operate and run more efficiently, so that I can focus on, the important priorities that need to be focused on. With the second round of CARES money, I've been trying to do some community support. with the new round of PPP, and they've come out with a new live venue grant. So I've been reaching out to some of those organizations that may be able to be supported by that. It's really, really important that, specifically from a tourism perspective, that not only we market these places, but also that we have them available to market. So I've been doing a lot of webinars, trying to get up to speed on what all is available, and then reach out to those organizations that can benefit. And just in general, reaching out to the community, finding out what's going on. I've been a little bit of everywhere. I haven't met with everybody yet. I've met with a couple of, Magistrate Kaywood and Magistrate Ellis, had some good conversations there. A couple of the city representatives, just having great conversations across the board, and haven't gotten to everybody yet, but I'm working my way through. I think I hit everybody right about the holiday time when everyone else was ready for a break and I was just getting back to work and ready to roll. So, but looking forward to, to more conversations. And just, from a marketing perspective, we're just now kind of getting to that point, luckily. And the consensus across the state is, for tourism, is to hold on to those marketing dollars. And luckily that had been done. So we've got some money that we can work with. We're certainly going to market things that we have available and that are occurring. And lucky enough for us, we have these great wide open spaces and history to explore. So while it is a unique time for events and we're a little unsure about where things are going to be, we do have an opportunity to take advantage of some of these beautiful spaces that we have. So that's certainly on the agenda for marketing. And, like I said about the budget, lucky enough, we have a little bit to work with. Jennifer did a good job of holding on to those dollars. So I'm actually in a great position. And while it's a challenging time, me and my board are also looking at this as an opportunity to be creative. So this is an opportunity to be creative, make sure Boyle County is on the map, and at least make sure until things calm down a bit that we're staying on people's radar. So that's sort of my general update, and I welcome any questions.
Does anybody have any questions of Ms. Peyton?
I'd like to, Jamie and I met, and Jamie, I appreciate the time together that we spent. Appreciate you making time for us to have a discussion. Thank you very much.
Judge,
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Jamie, I'd like to compliment you on the hour and 15-minute meeting that we had at the library. It went very well, and I'm excited about what you're going to add to the CVB.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I owe Jamie a meeting, and she's requested one, and we will get together very soon. It may not be this week, Jamie, because I have some family issues that I need to attend to later this week, but it will be very soon. I look forward to the opportunity to have that meeting, and I can tell you that having talked with Ben Miles on the Birthplace of Kentucky Committee, he's excited about working with you, and that's all good. And later today, during this court session, we will undertake a vote regarding a member of the CVB board that the county will be approving from the chamber.
Yes,
We'll be voting out from the chamber. Okay.
did see that, and I thank you all for that, and we're looking forward to bringing Rick on.
Jamie, I owe you a meeting as well. And I think we'll probably be able to get together next week, but I'm really excited to see what you have for Boyle County. Really excited when the board went ahead and put you in there. I think you'll do a great job. And we're all here to help. So please, reach out to us and let us know, but I'll get with you next week and see what you have planned and see what we can discuss. Okay.
Sounds good. Thank you so much.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you.
Is that all? Do you have any other questions of Jamie while she's on? Uh-oh. We just had a catastrophic meltdown. There we go. The whole screen went blank for a second. Okay. Thank you, Jamie.
Thank you.
Next, we, is a presentation by our distinguished county clerk, Trilly Bottom, on our quarterly report. Trilly, you're on.
Let me get unmuted. Okay, so you should have received the fourth quarter report. We're right on schedule, as we should be. So I just, for the court to acknowledge the fourth quarter report, and the next time you see a report, it will come with a check attached.
I move we acknowledge the report.
All right, and part of that acknowledgement is for me to sign the document that your office has submitted, which is part one of the summary and reconciliation of accounts. It has requires my signature. That
Yes,
will
sir.
go along with the approval. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Motion made by Magistrate Gay. Is there a second? Second. Seconded by Magistrate Short. People, you have it in your folders. Any discussion? There being none, since I can see the one magistrate on the screen, we'll ask for a right-hand vote and a voice vote. All those approved, signify with right hand or voice vote. Yes, aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposing? All right, opposing. Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you,
All
Judge.
right. Thank you, Trilly. I'll get this signed and get it back to you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Y'all have a good day.
All right. Next, we have consider a reappointment of Miss Susan Kelly to the Human Rights Commission effective this past June. To her last day will be in 23. Make a motion to approve it. Have a motion to approve Miss Susie Kelly to the Human Rights Commission by Magistrate Sammons. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Magistrate Kaywood. Any discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 The motion passes. Thank you. Next, consider a joint appointment along with the city. And I did not hear if they approved this last night or not. But it's a joint appointment between the city and the county, but we do our part. I'd like to offer for consideration Mr. Rick Series to the Convention and Visitors Bureau representing the Chamber of Commerce.
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Magistrate Gay. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Magistrate Kaywood. Any discussion on Rick Series?
One question, if I may, Judge.
Yes, sir.
We're doing this on behalf. He will be representing the chamber.
Yes.
I guess my question is
Why?
why?
Yeah.
I mean,
The
they
root,
have a board, and it would seem to me they would be. But Rick's fine.
the requirement is that the chamber submit 3 names to both the city and county for confirmation and appointment to the CVB board.
Got it. I understand that.
John's
That's-
parents.
That's true with anyone, correct? Like the hotel association, or is it just from the CVB? Any entity?
To be jointly, it's from the chamber because the chamber represents people in both the city and the county.
Okay.
And that's by KRS?
Yep.
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Any other discussion? All those in favor, right hand or signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Do we have one abstention or Jamie, did you vote?
Aye. Sorry.
Okay, thank you. All right. It passes unanimously. Thank you. Next, we have in your consideration of appointment of Mr. Sam Collier to the Planning and Zoning Board effective 1/1/21.
What place is he taking, Judge? Yeah.
He's taking Miss Susie Kelly's place.
Why's she coming off?
She's on 3 boards, and I'm diversifying. I'm diversifying.
Judge, could you help me just, I apologize that I don't know Mr. Collier, and in no way am I questioning this.
I don't either.
But could you tell me just a little bit about Mr. Collier?
Yeah, I can. He is. He's lived here quite a bit of his life, and Julie, you might help me a little bit. I thought we just sent y'all something. Maybe I'll be remiss. I apologize for not sending you something on it. He's an engineer by trade. I have talked to him. He has expressed interest in doing the position. From an engineer standpoint, he's worked on a lot of processes and analysis on construction phases and different things in his engineering degree, in his professional career. I think he's semi-retired or retired. Yeah, and you can help me anytime on this.
He's got 26 patents to his name. So he's got that creative mind. Yeah, he and his wife have been friends of mine since we moved here. Our kids met each other. And I've always thought that Sam had a lot of talent and just never really gave much thought to where ever bringing him on board. But we were waiting for the right person for planning and zoning because it's probably the most important appointment that you all make. And Judge and I talked to a couple people, and there's a lot of reluctance because of how hard it is to serve on planning and zoning. And with Miss Kelly, I mean, she was on 3 boards, and it seemed like that we were asking an awful lot of her.
For one person.
For one person, and if we could find some other people to help offset it, it diversifies your exposure. So we talked to Sam for about an hour, and it was clear he understands what we're looking for. He understands how to ask questions of development. He understands the pro-growth here, and it seemed like a good fit. I sat in that meeting with the judge just to I wanted to hear what he had to say, and he's a extremely intelligent gentleman. I think you'll be very happy with him.
Only question I have is about Susie, because she's been on quite some time. Seems like she did a good job. I didn't know when she's coming off.
Well, it's not. Yeah, she's on 3 boards, and I know she with Kathy Miles, and she enjoys on the Human Rights Commission. And I just looked at an opportunity to diversify. There was no negatives attached to any of this whatsoever.
She's not upset about it or anything.
Well, I don't know. I don't think so.
Look, I appreciate the information, Mr. Terry. I look forward to meeting him, and he is a brave fellow to be going for planning and zoning. I think
I would invite him, if you all really want to talk to him, invite him to the next court session or meet with you meeting.
I'll go ahead and make that recommendation. We have him. So.
I'm glad to support him. Something that I appreciate his offering to.
Well, when I came in, Miss Kelly done a great job everywhere she's been, but she's on 3 boards. That's a lot for one person. And I'm just looking to diversify and to bring some fresh eyes and stuff into the equation.
It's important to get some people on and off. If they've been on a board for a while, it's time to get some fresh eyes on different boards. It's your right, especially if they've been, assigned by other judge executives. It's your right to go ahead and review these boards. And I think if you've got someone of Mr. Collier's talent, and that he's willing to serve,
And willingness.
let's bring him on.
To be honest with you, I've talked to more than just 1 or 2 people about this. And some are not. They would have been good candidates, not interested.
We're lucky to get somebody that served. We got years ago, we couldn't get anybody served.
Right.
Well, I'm going to address that when we get through with all of this. I'm going to say a few words about
So would we have a motion to
I'll make that motion.
make motion to approve? And second, Mr. Collier's appointment to the CDB. Now,
No, to planning.
not planning zoning, not CDB. That was discussed.
Hey, one more thing of discussion, if I could, go ahead. And I definitely wholeheartedly agree with diversifying and having people not serve on a bunch of boards. I think we have that possibly in a couple of other spots that we need to maybe look at, because I think we do need to get as many people as we can involved. I also do think in diversification, though, we do need to look at making sure we include people of color. And also, I would be curious what this does to our male-female diversification on the planning and zoning board, and want to make sure we have a good representation on all of our boards as we continue to move forward as a community.
Those thoughts were part of my evaluation process, Magistrate Gay. But when it boils down to it, I look for the best possible candidate that is willing to serve, because some in those categories, although, like I said, I just felt like there needs to be some change, not for any negative reason, not for any cause or anything with Miss Kelly. I just felt like this was an opportunity to, because of such a high-vis position, to make a change. And part of the consideration was all of those categories going forward. And I did talk with both women and people of color to see if they were interested. And one that I talked to showed no interest.
And I I agree with what everybody's been saying. This, to me, this is one of the tougher boards to serve on, and I think there is I agree with you on that. There is a certain amount of expertise that is needed and skill set that it's important to have for this board in particular. But and it is a tough board to serve on, without a doubt.
Yeah, well, it is, and what excited me about Mr. Collier was his analytical approach and processes to evaluation of different situations before him, and that I think will bode well for his participation in P&Z.
Call the question.
Okay.
Sounds great.
All those in favor signify by saying aye or raise your right hand.
Aye.
It sounds like unanimous. All right, thank you for that. And we'll move on to the next one. He is appointed to Mr. Sam Collier is appointed to P&Z. And report, we need to, along again with the city, we need to nominate 2 people to participate in the Bluegrass Area Development District Advisory Committee. And what I would like to do is to join and approve, along with the city commission, Mr. Earl Coffey to represent the city of Danville on this advisory committee, and to nominate Ms. Julie Wagner to represent the county on the Bluegrass Area Development District Advisory Committee, which are non-elected officer positions for a 3-year term.
You don't have enough on your.
So moved.
That I'd only do it if Earl would
Second.
Motion has been made by Manager Delta, second by Manager Cullen. And is there any discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye or raise your right hand. Aye.
Aye.
It passes unanimously. Thank you for that. Appreciate that. We're moving right along.
Judge,
Yes.
hey, while we're in B, I would like just to add for the public and everybody to remember that these are volunteers. They are paid nothing for their
That is true.
Right. And if they incur it, well, part of the job is to a little bit of travel, maybe go to a meeting, maybe in Lexington, Louisville, Frankfurt, or whatever. They incur some expense in travel, and to represent the county. They are not, they in no way are reimbursed for any expenses. I think maybe we might want to rethink that. I think there are times where maybe they should be reimbursed. They are representing us, and we appreciate their service, for which they're not paid anything to do it. But not getting at least your expenses back in some way, I think we ought to take into consideration. So.
John, you and I talked about this some time ago, you remember? We agreed, you and I agreed that we should bring this up. We felt like, Judge, that we should at least pay for the travel expenses. You know, like the election rule, we should reimburse them so much for at least their travel to the gasoline.
I would entertain, if it pleases the court, I'm in agreement with that philosophy. I think it's only right for volunteers. They don't make any money doing it, but it shouldn't cost them to do it either.
Right.
I don't think we need to look at providing any kind of per diem, but travel expenses, if it would be acceptable to the court for all out of county required travel as an appointee to a board or commission of the court of the Boyle County, that individual who incurred that expense being reimbursed at a 50 cent a mile rate. It's worth throwing out there.
We need to run this past county attorney at all, make sure we're able to do this.
Chris, you want to weigh in on that question?
I mean, I can't answer that right away. If you let me have time to research that, I can check on that for you.
Okay, so what we'll do is bring that up on the next court session for consideration.
Yeah.
You don't want motion.
No, but I wanted to research the legality of being able to pay for that, but
I think so.
I'm in full support of what you guys are saying. I just want to make sure that.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll put that on the next court session for discussion.
Wait a long time, so I think we can wait.
Wait 2 more weeks.
You can, I mean.
Okay, Chris, we do that, we appreciate it.
Whatever the IRS
Yeah,
rate is, whatever.
yeah.
John, thanks for bringing that up.
You're welcome.
Anything else before we move on? Okay. Next, Dwayne Kemp.
All right, I'm here. Have 3 items of business this morning. First item is the bridge replacement or structure replacement agreement. This is available to us each year. And of course, we had a project, or we selected a project on Arnold Road. We submitted our cost estimate to them, and they have now finally sent us an agreement that they will, reimburse us 80% of the cost of that project. And so 80% of the cost of that would be up to $64,000. Tom raised a good question yesterday. We were discussing about, there is a paragraph in there that if the legislature deemed to reduce the money in the transportation program or wherever that line item would be, that could affect us. And but the legislature should be finished and completed. We should know that answer before we get this project underway. But anyway, that agreement also includes a resolution, as do all the agreements that we do with the transportation department. So I guess today I'm asking that you pass the resolution agreeing to this agreement or accepting this agreement, and then which allow the judge to sign it. And then also I would like to ask that you go ahead and approve advertising for this project. And of course, we cannot do that until we receive the signed agreement back from transportation. So that's going to be 2 or 3 weeks down the road. And then when we advertise, that's going to take, 3 or 4 weeks more by the time we bring it back to you for approval. So the legislative session will definitely be over before we get to that point. But we'd like to build this spring. So that's the reason I was going ahead and asking ahead for approval to advertise as well.
Everybody have a copy of the resolution in their packet and read it. It's a 2-pager, so in addition, I would entertain a motion to approve the resolution for the bridging project and to attach to that resolution, to that motion, the opportunity to bid the project once approved by the state, the resolution.
Make a motion.
Motion has been made by Magistrate Short, seconded by Magistrate Samuels. Is there any discussion on the resolution or as to include the bidding offer?
Judge, yes, Tom,
yes, sir.
I was pleased with a lengthy conversation yesterday with Keegan about this, and then Judge, thank you, and particularly Joe Dwayne for helping me through some of the issues that I brought up. There is one remaining that I just want to be sensitive to, and that's on page 1 at the bottom, number 2 at the end of the line, only contractors pre-qualified. We ran into a stub toe last year with respect to some asphalt and someone from Lexington, a woman making a bid, but she was not pre-qualified. Are we going to handle this one in such a way that we don't run into that type circumstance again, Dwayne?
Well, it's always in the advertisement. We always put that in the advertisement that they have to be, they have to be on the pre-qualified contractors or list of the state, and that's in the advertisement. Sometimes they read it, sometimes they choose not to read it. So then we have to go back and review that. We have to go back and check it against the state list to make sure they're a qualified bidder, before we can select them and recommend them to you for, as a contractor.
Well, clarifying then that it's their responsibility to find that clause, I'm all in favor of this.
All right, that's the way it'll be as far as the processes will go. So
that's standard. That's standard procedure on all the state contracts. They any contractor we use has to be a pre-qualified bidder.
Thank you.
All right, all those in favor of the motion on the bridging contract resolution, please signify by saying aye or raise your right hand.
Aye.
Voting like sign. The motion passes. Thank you for that. And I have 100% in the aye for record on the resolution. All right, next.
Okay. We also advertise for bids for providing stone for the year 2021 and also providing asphalt for the year 2021.
Did we get
stone bids? Sorry?
Did those bids get in the packet?
No. Like so. I think that just happened yesterday, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So,
but go ahead and talk about it, Dwayne.
Yeah, we proved it.
Okay. I didn't hear all your conversation. I'm sorry, but
the bid sheets didn't get in the packet.
Oh, I'm sorry. In the packet, yes. Anyway, the stone bids were the same as last year as far as the cost, the bid for each class of rock. And that bid, the only bid we received was from Quail Stone. And so I would recommend to the court that we accept the bid from Quail Stone to provide stone to us for the year 2021.
Okay.
Make a motion. Second.
Motion made by Magistrate Short, seconded by Magistrate Cullen to approve the stone bid by Caldwell Stone. And any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Raise your right hand.
Aye.
Passed unanimously. Thank you. All right, next.
The last item was we also advertised for to provide asphalt, asphalt that we would actually go pick up at the plant, and also for placing asphalt on any project throughout our county. And so we only received one bid for that, and that was from the Allen Company. This year's bids are approximately close to $4 cheaper on the per ton for both in-place asphalt and for asphalt that we would pick up at the plant. So I would recommend that to the court that we accept the Allen Company's bid to provide asphalt for us for the year 2021.
Okay.
I'll make that bid.
All right.
I'm sorry. Motion. Sorry. Sorry.
The motion was made by Magistrate Simmons and seconded by Magistrate Kenny. Any discussion? All those in favor signify approval with the saying aye and raise your right hand. And opposing like sign. Motion carries. Thank you. All right.
Judge, before we go on, will Dwayne be with us to the very end on new business?
I will be.
Thank you.
I may duck out for a few minutes, but I'll make sure and be around for then.
Thank you.
Next, we have Sheriff Derek Robbins. Sheriff, you're on.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. It says on the agenda for the presentation of the quarterly report, ours actually isn't finished yet because we still have some bills that are outstanding from the previous year, and we're still getting tax money in from like franchises that would be applied to the 2020 year. So I actually have the budget that I think that I'm willing to present if that's okay with you guys.
Is that, I've got the quarterly report in my hand to sign, but I don't have, is that what, that's not what you're talking about, right?
No, I spoke to Janice this morning, and she doesn't have the quarterly report finished, according to her. That may be an incomplete copy, I assume. Is that maybe from the first 3 quarters and not the 4th? I've got the budget, the big one. Is that what you have, Judge? See what I'm holding up?
I don't have that.
Okay.
I
think she was
that.
supposed to distribute that, but I can.
See,
I can.
What I got, Derek, was the quarterly report, and so I would prefer that.
The big long paper.
Yeah.
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 Is it? Does it have a 1.9 million 59400 on the top there?
Yes.
That's what I have. That's our budget for next year, the January to December 31st budget.
Okay, all right. And I think that's what the court is looking at.
Yeah, that's what
Okay.
That's what I have.
Okay. There's really not any changes in it from last year because we were very conservative, not knowing what kind of revenues we had with the coronavirus stuff. The only thing is it's up about 300,000, and that's because of the CARES Act money that is going towards the cameras, which will be just a wash. Because once we get that, obviously we'll have to take that in as a revenue, and then it'll go out as a disbursement once we pay the invoice on the cameras.
Okay.
But honestly, all the budget the same. The salary cap just went up a little bit, just based on the cost of living raise, and we actually brought our overtime budget down some because we were well under it last year.
Really? That's great. Yeah. Given the conditions of COVID, coronavirus.
It surprised me too.
Let's do that then. We'll take the budget as presented for calendar year 2021 and entertain a motion to approve the sheriff's budget as presented.
Make a motion.
Motion is made by Magistrate Short. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Magistrate Cullen. Discussion. Questions? Anybody? If there be none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Raise your right hand.
Aye.
Opposing like sign. The motion carries. Thank you for that. But I'll sign this document for you, Sheriff. You got some more to talk about?
I do. I had spoke to Magistrate Cullen about we had a little bit of excess fees this year that I didn't expect, and with that being said, trying to be a team player here, I went ahead and just utilized those excess fees to purchase a vehicle, which I have in the budget from the fiscal court. My proposal is that I just don't the fiscal court not purchase a vehicle. And I asked that they would just equip the one that I purchased, which is trying to do the math in my head. I've got the 2 invoices there. I don't know if the magistrates have those from L&W Emergency Equipment.
Yep.
It's $11,899 if I did the math in my head there really quick, which is a lot cheaper than a $40,000 vehicle. And I was just asking for permission to get that emergency equipment and not get the vehicle that the fiscal court had in the budget, which would save roughly, $30,000, give or take a little.
What Sheriff, what type of vehicle did you buy, and how many vehicles do we have on the force now?
We have it's a Tahoe, and we have 21 vehicles, I believe.
Why do we have?
I'll make the motion. We approve this request to purchase the outfitting equipment.
All right. Just a second, Bill, I'll let you ask the question. If we get a second to the motion.
Second.
Seconded, motion made by Magistrate Gay, seconded by Magistrate Cullen to approve outfitting the vehicle box. Now we can have discussion. And Sheriff, Salmon's had a question about not only the number, but why do we need that number of vehicles?
And why do we need Tahoes, gas guzzlers? That makes, how many Tahoes now do you have? 3 or 4?
Four.
My question is, I'm not really complaining, but I don't understand why you need so many big vehicles like that. Why Tahoe? And you have about 3 or 4 that's not marked. And that's my next question. Why?
The vehicles that we're purchasing now are being marked as we speak, but I don't know that our canine units would be quite as effective if they're sitting watching a drug house and it says the sheriff's office on the side of it.
But you need 4 Tahoes, those big vehicles for K9? You need 4 of them?
That all the canines are not in Tahoes, but my goal would be to purchase all Tahoes if it was available, because the trading value on those is so much greater than the other vehicles. I would hope that if we traded those out in a timely fashion, that we would get a return on that, and it would cost less to get vehicles in the future because you have such a trading value on the Tahoes. That's my goal.
I just don't understand it. Why we need so many vehicles, and why we need such expensive vehicles when we can buy. We used to be buying them in the 20s, and now we're buying them in the 40s. I just don't understand why the county's spending that kind of money. Plus, the insurance is so much higher.
The chargers and everything that you're getting in, you're referred to are closer to 30s as far as what they cost. And
I'm talking about 30.
No, the chargers, the cars that you're referred to. One, they're uncomfortable for the officers because I've talked with not only state but also county and others. They're really uncomfortable. Also, we're a county, so they need to be able to get 4-wheel drive cars because not everything is paved roads that they go down. So they need the best vehicles for this. And I've seen this trend going all across, from even when I'm on the East Coast all over. They're going to the SUVs instead of the cars. Because you do get a better trade-in value on them. I mean, with the last several cars that we've had, the Chargers or whatever, we've been just junking those, getting like a couple $1,000s, where he's getting $25,000 when you trade those in, right, Sheriff?
18 to 23 is what the gentleman from Bachman Chevrolet recommended.
So if you got $40,000 Tahoe,
Compare the difference in the gasoline from the time you purchase it. Yeah. More efficient vehicle, and the difference in the cost on the insurance.
A lot of these Tahoes actually will use 4 cylinders. They go from 8 to 4 cylinders. So I mean the efficiency's there.
That kind of vehicle.
Sheriff, I think it's a smart move that, and I know it's easier on your deputies too, but
they're a bigger vehicle and they're safer if you were involved in a traffic collision, which is some of it also. They sit a little higher and they're safer. They have better ground clearance if you're going through the field, if you're going up a gravel driveway that is kind of eroded from rain. They're a good county vehicle, and I mean that's obviously there's other options, but for a rural environment, they're ideal.
Sure, maybe next court, if you could have one of the smaller vehicles versus one of the Tahoes outside and let us kind of take a look at them or something like that, maybe that'll help as well.
And I can also have the guys can look at the cameras also, if that's something that you guys want to take a look at. The weather is pending. We've got a lot of our cameras that are being installed right now, and there'll be something that you can take a look at. They're not operational yet, but you can kind of see how they're set up.
That'd be great.
Sure. And I would just add this discussion is more appropriate in the budget process. This is a budgeted item, as the sheriff indicated. We've already had this discussion. I would call for the question.
That made my gas.
Sheriff, with that many vehicles, do we have any we're gonna circle up down, or what are we gonna do?
Yes, sir. We should have 4 that, or at least 3 that we're able to surplus once we get everything equipped and on the road.
Yeah, any other questions?
Oh,
Anybody else have any other questions?
Your officer doing okay, sir?
Yes, sir. Doing well. We're got over half of the cameras installed, waiting on some of the equipment to come in, that the infrastructure in the courthouse to make those operational. But a lot of the install, over half of it is done in the vehicles at this point.
Sheriff, only other question I have, are you gonna,
Can I call for the question on the motion, please?
it's still in discussion stage, Jamie, if you don't mind.
We're not discussing the motion, though.
We're not discussing the motion,
Let's call for the question on the motion, then you can ask the sheriff questions.
Okay. All those in favor of approving the funding of the L&W emergency equipment for the sheriff's vehicle, signify by saying aye or raise your right hand.
Aye.
Opposed? Like sign, and the motion carries. Thank you. Now, you have a question?
the only other question I have was, he has 3 or 4 is not marked, does he intend to mark?
No, I don't think so from what he said a while ago.
It broke up. I couldn't hear the judge.
Do what?
It broke up. I couldn't hear the question, sir.
I think you've already answered the question, but his question was, do you intend to mark all your vehicles?
All
Yeah,
but a couple. All of the patrol vehicles. I don't intend to mark the K9 or like mine or Chief Deputy Stratton's, like the administrative ones, but all the others will be marked. Yes, all the patrol ones.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Sheriff,
Judge Tom Ellis here. I do have one question of the sheriff. Sheriff, the community is very pleased and excited that we're going to be doing the cameras and the training. A, when will that training begin? And B, could we as magistrates sit in on some of it and perhaps even make sure that the media has an opportunity to sit in and see the strides that we're making to protect not only the community, but our officers?
Yes. Well, the training will be several different classes. I'd be more than happy to sit in with you guys and the media and some of the guys and discuss what their functions are and how they operate, some of the policies that we'll implement. And I'm assuming, I'm guessing that we should be operational, and I'm trying to be as conservative as I can. I'm hopeful that it'll be sooner, like the middle of April. Once we get some of the camera money from farmers, we'll be able to order the servers and infrastructure that we will have here that will download all the data, which that will also require us hiring that employee, Sam Butler, to set all that up and run that for us. So that's, all that's waiting on at this point is the approval to go ahead and hire Sam, and ordering that equipment to put in the office here to for him to kind of set that up where it downloads to in the infrastructure. So our main goal is to get all the cameras in the cars right now, and then once we get all that set up, he literally just has to put the fuse in the cameras to make them operational at this point.
I know that the community is very pleased with this move, and I'm sure that your officers are as well.
Yes, absolutely.
All right. Sheriff, I got 2 more documents that we need to discuss. One of them is your requested approval of the acceptance of salaries, Boyle County deputies, court security, and office employees effective for the calendar year 2021, and the annual order setting the maximum amount for deputies and assistants, which I believe that you have discussed with our treasurer,
yes.
and moving forward.
Yes. I don't have those in front of me, but I'm aware of them that I signed.
Does everybody else put those in front of you?
No,
No.
I think they were attached to the budget sheet.
Okay.
Maybe.
Yeah, it looks like this. Without the cover.
Yep.
Okay, got it.
Everybody want to take a minute to review?
Please.
All right, we're going to take just a minute to review those documents that are there for approval and request as it relates to the budget that was presented earlier.
Okay.
Jamie, did you find that? You and Tom?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Somebody let me know when you're ready to proceed. If everybody would, if you prefer to wait and vote on this, do it next quarter. If you're satisfied with the information before you, we can vote on it today.
Well, in reference to last year, it might be a valuable piece of information. No, it's actually less than what it was last year by about $10,000. That's
All right. All right. I will entertain a motion that, to accept the sheriff's request for approval of the acceptance of the salaries for the deputies, court security, and office employees effective for this calendar year. The documents you have before you, and in pursuant to KRS 64530, the fiscal court will fix annually maximum amount, which the second document fixes that maximum amount for officers may expend for deputies, assistants, and fiscal court. They're both related to the same expense. So
moved.
Motion made by Magistrate K. Wood. Is there a second? Second by Magistrate Short. Discussion. Anybody? There being none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Raise your right hand.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. And that motion carries. Thank you, Sheriff.
Yes, sir. Thank you, guys.
Anything else for Sheriff Robbins before you? Okay, thank you. Next, we have Miss Julie Wagner.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
First thing I have is there was much wringing of hands in the community about the fact that from McDowell is not listed as a vaccination site, and that our residents were going to have to travel to Lexington and still do to get their vaccine. So we have written a letter to Secretary Gray, it's in your packet, requesting him to reevaluate the arrangement or lack of an arrangement with Ephraim McDowell. And I understand that a meeting has taken place, Judge, is that correct?
Yes, I was, it was an exciting day yesterday that in response to this letter dated January 19th, yesterday on the 25th, less than a week, Secretary Gray initiated his evaluation process for Ephraim McDowell to be considered a regional mass vaccination site. And he spent roughly an hour with the hospital key staff. They had a very good discussion. They got a tour of the facilities along with members from the state public health department, Dr. Stack's office, ESF 8. In attendance was myself, Mike Wilder, Mike Parrish, Dwayne Campbell, and Earl Coffey from the city and the county. And I assured them in their evaluation process that there is county and city support collaboratively to make sure that we put our best foot forward in Boyle County to be considered a regional vaccination site that would benefit all of Boyle County and the surrounding counties as far as distribution goes. We have no approval yet. It's the beginning of an evaluation process, but I'm excited to see that we have been considered after initially not being on the initial list.
Just one of the great things about being able to Boyle County is the citizens and the governments can get behind something and really make things happen. So we're hoping that this will come out to be something positive for us. We'll keep you informed.
Yeah, more to come.
When do you think you might have an answer?
I asked the question that my inquisitive mind wants to know, but they did not give me a suspense time which they will be concluding their due diligence on their evaluation. I don't know at this point. I would not consider, I would not, I don't want to assume, I would not consider it taking a real long time before they make their determination.
I hope that you all would push to get an answer ASAP, because the public, rightfully so, is very interested in knowing how to handle this.
Are they still short on?
Yes.
On vaccine. Yes. That is in the military terms, that's a limb fact.
I don't know if y'all might know, but Senator Gertler has been down with COVID-19.
I did not know that.
He and his wife Mo. He's done well, better. And I talked to him yesterday. He and I have been friends for years. You may know him. Okay. And he's done real well, but he had got your letter. And probably should you do everything he could to help.
I didn't know.
He couldn't figure why the government wanted Jim Gray to be in charge of this instead of someone else.
Well, it's a logistics issue. Once they get access to the vaccine, logistically getting in a timely, expeditious manner would be something that he has the ability to collaborate with between. To me, he's about as good as anybody else do as far as logistics moving.
He'll move it. I have great confidence in him. I want to compliment him on this letter. Really, it's a good letter.
Yeah, it is.
The second thing is another letter that we wrote to the city of Danville and just acknowledge their generosity to our magistrates at Christmas time, and also just to acknowledge the new spirit of cooperation between the city and county. And I'm happy to say that this letter was read last night at the city commission meeting as part of their record. And they felt so good they wanted to write a letter back to us, which they're not going to do.
Yeah.
But anyways, I just wanted to tell you that letter did get into their hands and was read last night at their meeting. So moving on, in front of you is finally the first draft, and this is a draft of what I think could work out to be our business license program. And so I'd like to just kind of go through this. What I started with is the actual application, because I think if we can agree to the process, then an ordinance is really easy to write. So the first thing is I have a couple of questions. If you look down through here, if you have a business license with the city of Danville, you do not need to get a county license. Are we agreeing that that's the way we want this to run?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I took took that presumption that if they're licensed in the city, they probably don't need a second license. And I built this kind of around that. The second thing is, if you look down here at number 10, and this kind of builds on something that John has been pointing in on, and that is kind of tracking our growth in our different fields in the community. So I've broken out different categories that we might want to track as we start to really use our software better and see where our growth is. So I've broken out lodging and alcohol businesses, retail, food. You can kind of see here, healthcare, industry. And then I also put the kennel, breeder, and boarding, because I do think as we work through this, we are going to have a separate license for kennels. So this will be a good thing to point out to them that they're going to need a kennel license when we get to that point. Also, it would be really nice to know how many employees we have in the county. So I'm asking when they apply to give us a number of how many people work for them, so we can see how many people are working in the county. And then that'll help us track occupational license fees. If you look at number 12, are you a contractor? I would like to clarify what constitutes a contractor. Is a contractor just a builder? Or is a contractor, would a landscaper be a contractor? Yes. And we're not thinking of it that way right now. If they have a hammer and a nail and they're building a structure, that's what we consider a contractor. Right now, if you're a landscaper, a tree trimmer, anything of that vein, maybe an interior decorator, you're not considered a contractor. And so that's something that I'd like a policy decision on, exactly where you want the contractor line to stop. Because I've got, and I'll tell you what made me think this, is I've got the City of Danville's business license list. And what we're doing is culling through that list, looking for people maybe that haven't been paying occupational license. And that's part of our process of improving collection. And I realized how many people are registered businesses that are falling through the cracks because we don't list them as a contractor. So there's no way to catch them. And so I'd like.
I don't mean to interrupt.
Yeah.
I'm just being along with you. In my opinion, would be anyone that does any work. If I hire John Keywood to do something for me, be a contractor.
Yeah. But it says right now that it's a building. In the building trade is the way we define a contractor. So a sign company, if they hire somebody to come out and hang a sign at their business, yeah, we're not considering them contractors. If a Splenda that drives around and trims the trees, I hope I said that right, they're not considered a contractor. They are a contractor. So
they're all contractors.
Right. I think so too.
So we need to take time to think it through and come up with a good definition that absolutely defines our interpretation of what a contractor is.
Right.
You know, Phil, if you hired me to come trim your trees, we probably wouldn't have a formal agreement. You would say, John, how much will you charge? And I say, X number of dollars. And we just kind of a verbal agreement.
But then have a contract.
That's what I don't know. Is that considered to be a contract?
Well, that's kind of what I was thinking.
Used to it was a contract.
Yeah. Yeah. Somebody's putting wires for a sound system. Is that a contractor? Or is that just?
Now, if he's dumping, then I don't know. You're going to have a fine line right there.
Right.
Well, that could be a question about plumbers. Plumber contract?
Yes, they are. They are considered.
Usually anyone that's hired receives an income contract.
Could be.
Chris, do you have any advice on this, or is it something you want to think about or research more?
Contractor workers asking for a job.
I mean, I guess you'd look at it in the terms of like independent contractors and so forth. I mean, people who mow lawns are independent contractors, unless they work for some, business or whatever. Like, so, I mean, I would think that tree trimmer would be a contractor. Just like anybody, I guess, that you seek out services from to perform different things for you at your house, or, I mean, if you needed someone to take care of your elderly parent, I mean, you contract them to work for your parent to care for them. So I think that contractor, I mean, that the term covers so much, and you can't really just limit it to certain things. So I think it has a broad meaning to it.
Well, let's give it some thought. Maybe at the next meeting, we can kind of agree on what parameters we want to set for contractor. I think that'll help us. The second thing is, if you are a contractor, you have to renew your license every year, as opposed to a one-time business license. And the other piece of this is, I have all of the contractor applications from last year, and I would propose that we set the application date at one time a year instead of a rolling every month. You got to pull out and see who's contractor, and that's how Rusty got behind.
Yeah, because
It's just
too hard to keep track.
It is, and we would prorate it every month. If you get a contract license in September, but you're going to be working here through the end of the next year, then we would prorate that. It would be a lot easier to do that than to try to remember every month, bill contractors and track them down and collect the $50. So I would propose that we change it. January 1
I guess. Yeah, I guess I'm just wondering: is there a reason that we are separating contractors out? It seems like if this is a occupational business license, it is simply anybody that's doing business in the county, effectively outside of the city limits, should have a license. Is there a reason that we specifically separate the term contractor out of this?
I think because there's so many building trades people that come in and out of here, that the way I understand it, the ordinance is written to capture that you can't get a building permit until you have all your contractors registered and paid up. And that way we can catch them all as they come and go. That's the way I understand it. Is the way we did it. Okay. Because it's a transient type business. I think if we don't do it that way, we're going to end up losing a lot of revenue of people that we're trying to catch that come in and do one job at E for McDowell, and then they don't, we want to get them so that we can collect the revenue. That makes sense. We know when they're coming in. Going. That's what I'm trying to say. We know when they're coming in and out.
I guess then, yeah, I mean, I agree that the way it's worded there, engaged in the building trade, but I do think that then it does open that, as we've been discussing, that can of worms to what is if we're just specifically focusing on the building trade, then that's one thing. And then everybody else, if you do business in the county, you should have a license.
Yeah. Okay. I'll continue to dig around and see what we can find.
But this is good information that for all of us to get closer to developing a county business license. And I don't propose that we need to entertain any kind of motion today. It's just information to start the process to make it the most acceptable.
Well, and if you like these parameters, then we can start writing the ordinance. I can get with Chris and we can start getting this pinned down and finished.
Have you looked at any other counties?
I have. I looked at a lot of counties and the city of Danville. I feel like since we're working in the city of Danville for a lot of these people, I used a lot of their language because it seems appropriate to keep it seamless for a county. So a lot of this mirrors exactly what the city does, so it's easier for the business owner to understand where they fall.
If you want to be on the same page.
Yeah. And then finally, I have on here, starting with the nuisance. Yep, sure.
Are you going to turn on the other side?
Okay, yeah. Okay.
There's places through here that refers to a person And I think it's a person and or a business that needs to use from time to time through here. And you can figure that out.
Yeah.
Under affidavit,
Yes.
every application must be under oath. I was a little confused about how you meant under oath and that terminology there.
That came from the city of Danville. I think when you sign this, you're
Under oath, do
attesting.
you have to
I don't
put your hand on the Bible and,
Yeah.
you know, swear?
We might can change that
Yeah.
just to.
Yeah.
You can simplify that, take
Yeah.
a little of that
I
out.
affirm that I am who I say I am.
And then under, you have the rates in the city of Danville and Boyle, you have the rates as they presently are. Would that have to be changed should those rates change? Is there a way to put it so
Okay. So
whatever the going rate is at that time, maybe, that way you don't have to change its form.
sure. Okay.
Sounds good.
Any other input?
No, I appreciate all the hard work you're doing here, Julie.
Well, I would say if we can get the ordinance, then we might be able to implement this come March,
Great.
mid-March maybe. So,
Yep.
yeah. Are you fine with that? Back to parking, nuisance, animal noise. This one, I hope you've had time to read it. If not, we need to get it read. Basically what I did is I looked at Lexington, Louisville, Oldham County, and Bourbon County. They had really good animal ordinances, and this is kind of a bits and parts of all of those. Basically, what we're proposing is that if an animal barks or howls or makes a noise for 20 minutes out of an hour, that would be sufficient to be considered a barking nuisance or a noise nuisance. Proving it is going to be difficult, and I think we all need to know that. They're going to have to be proved to spend 20 minutes, other than if somebody puts their camera or their recorder and records it. So
And how, I mean, this is going to be troublesome. I mean,
Yeah.
reading through this is going to be troublesome because what happens if dog stops barking for 2 minutes? Does the clock reset? I mean,
Yeah, according to this.
I mean, I'm thinking about just my neighborhood alone.
Right.
I have pretty much everyone in my neighborhood, because we're not allowed to have like fences up in the front yard. We all have electric fences.
Mhm.
And the dogs just essentially have the freedom to run around instead of being locked up inside. They can just kind of run around. I've got a new puppy. She likes to bark.
Yeah.
My neighbors all have dogs that like to bark, and it's just kind of,
Or you're in a barking neighborhood.
I welcome it.
The only thing I did put in here is I tried to write this to give the animal control officer some latitude in how they enforce this.
Then,
And maybe we need to massage that a little bit, but
I think there's too much gray area in here.
yeah.
I don't know where Chris can look at this. Or there was like the ATO can do this and can do that, or it's. I mean, I understand we've got a couple issues in the county, but I really just see
Yeah,
this.
once you see it on paper, it becomes pretty clear. This is really hard to enforce.
I mean, honestly, at this point, we're going to have to end up hiring more ACOs. Is what I see, because the amount of people that are going to be complaining and running our ACOs all over the place is going to be. I mean, but that's what we're opening here. Is this dog's been barking. I like the meowing. That was kind of funny.
I know.
So, but the barking. I mean, they're going to be all over the place.
But I thought the same thing.
They're pretty soon. They're going to have only one SUVs too, Phil.
Our lot of people take care of this.
So now that you've seen what a barking nuisance ordinance would look like,
I think you've done a good job on it.
I mean, I
would you
think it's
rather
good.
go to kennel enforcement and stay away from barking dog? Now that you've kind of seen what this entails?
Well,
That's the
situation.
issue. I mean, that's what brought this about with the kennels.
I mean, if you would prefer, let's just enforce
Let
kennels.
me give you an example. A couple of years ago, I received a call from a person who lived next door to a lady who had a hen stuff.
Rooster?
It was a chicken.
Yeah.
That
Tom Ellis
everyone,
here.
Hold
Tom
on,
Ellis
Tom.
here. I'd like to speak to several issues. Folks, Tom Ellis here. I'd like to speak to several issues that were brought up by Magistrate Cullen and expand on them.
Okay, wait just a minute, Tom, just a minute.
All right.
John has the floor, and then we'll go back to you. Okay.
Anyway, the chicken would cluck at 4 o'clock in the morning, and the neighbor works during the night and tried to sleep during the day. And what do you do?
Yeah.
What do you do?
You just get you another rooster so they can.
You move into the city where they've got.
This was in the city. This was in the city.
The city has an ordinance that you can have hens, but no roosters.
Well, this has, what it said, the city's ordinance, if the rooster was in a fenced area, it was okay, and that's really the way it went. Eventually, the rooster disappeared. So it took care of itself. Right. Do you remember? Did you know
That old meat.
it was interesting when you get those phone calls? You like to kind of have an answer.
I just wanted you to see what it would look like if we.
Yes.
My concern is our staff. How hard now? We could write this to, if you have so many complaints, then this kicks in. I don't know, but I just want you to see it. If you prefer just to go with kennel nuisance, then we'll just do kennels.
I think that makes more sense.
Okay.
But Tom had some things he wanted to do.
Tom, go ahead. Now you have the floor.
Thank you, Judge. Yes, I have several issues. I've noted them on my pages here if you want to try to follow with me. First of all, in general, I would say that not only in my magisterial district, but in at least 2 others, we have folks with 3, 4, and 5 dogs. With the vague gray language that Magistrate Cullen has already referenced, there are some real mitigating factors that could cause a serious complaint on somebody with all those dogs that would not be validated with any measurements. So let me go through that. First of all, measurement. What is, in the first paragraph, the last word, what is the distance of a vicinity? And that comes back in 2 or 3 other areas. Secondly, on the 20 minutes, 1 hour, I think it was in a previous meeting when we talked about an ordinance, we talked about 70 decibels. So I assert that Jason's dogs are barking at 70 decibels. I'm pleased that Julie brought up the idea of measurements with your cell phone, which you can record, and a camera if the dog is out of line in any other way. So I think it needs some specificity on distance and in terms of decibels. A real concern of mine, and it really is on page 2, is there are 2 references in the opinion of the ACO. Well, the animal control officer can only be offering his or her opinion based on what the complainant has said, unless that complainant has actually is within a measurable distance that we've defined from the vicinity and the neighborhood. And secondly, if that gentleman or lady who complains has a cell phone and knows the distance that he or she was when they recorded 20 minutes within an hour, then they're going to have solid evidence, as opposed to, quote, 2 areas where it says the opinion of the animal control officer. So I think there's some real concerns about measurement, proof versus opinion.
Tom, you keep talking about distance. What distance you talking about?
I don't know. It would be much better if there were definitions of distance, but the greater of the 2 would be evidence that's been recorded by the person who complains that it's at X decibels, whether it's 70, 80, will eventually cause damage to the ears. So I don't know what it would be that we would come with, but there have to be some very clear measurements in 2 or 3 areas here, plus the fact that anybody, especially in those rural areas that we have, several of us have those rural areas, it's going to be quite easy to see that flow of several additional animal control officers that Magistrate Cullen mentioned, because we could be getting calls in my district and in other districts on a daily basis.
Okay, so
May I make reference to? I'd like for you to consider that it's using distance would not be really easy, because it depends upon what's between the animal and the person who's hearing the sound. You may have some buffer, you may have some trees, you may, so distance becomes a little difficult maybe as a measurement.
Well, Tom has a situation.
I agree. That's why I emphasize the decibels.
Tom, you have a situation in your district that you're not talking. I've told you about it before, and you can hear those dogs at least a half a mile away every morning.
Again, that's why I mentioned decibels.
There's 3 calls about it, and that's one I told you about.
Right.
I mean, you could look at doing this only in subdivisions, neighborhoods,
Okay.
but I just wanted you to see how hard it's going to be.
It's not. There's another factor in here that we haven't talked about. And I don't remember, because I haven't looked at the dog ordinance for a long time. But Mr. Campbell did a dog ordinance back years ago. And I don't know what's in it. I don't remember what's in it, but I don't know.
But it didn't have much teeth in it.
Yeah, there's not. Yeah, there's not a lot.
There's not a lot. Okay.
Restricted at all. That was when I was having problems with the dog pound. I call it out on purpose.
Do you want to consider, if you have a certain number of dogs, you're deemed a kennel, or you just have to have a kennel? Because here's where I see this. If you have a family that is a breeder that lives out in Tom's district, are they considered a kennel if they're breeding dogs?
We'll go back to this issue.
Does P&Z have, did they not put in the number of dogs?
They reduced it down to like, just that. I'll have to look. Let me look at that.
Seemed like Steve did something. Phil, you and Steve worked together
Yes.
a couple of years ago, maybe. Does that sound right? With problems that you had? And did Steve put numbers in his P&Z?
Yeah, I think so.
I believe he did, and I don't remember
I
what.
think it was 3.
Yeah,
There's, I mean, this
but I
will
think
take more
that's a
time. to do.
really low number.
Here's what happens, and this is really, the noise, obviously, if you're sitting on the deck of your house and you're getting this noise, it's a bother.
Yeah.
But it also, in my opinion, this is my opinion only, and you'll never know until it's sold, could very well affect the value of the property.
You're right.
And I think that's part of the untold story in this case. Is the effect on the neighborhood when they go to resell their property, whether people will see that as a deterrent to future buyers. It could affect the value of what they invested in.
Well, that's what the situation Tom and I discussed, the fact it's a kennel, and everything's right according to the way it should be. But in the mornings, every morning, no later than 7 o'clock, they turn these dogs out into a big run, and they start barking. I mean, you never heard such a noise in your life. It goes on and on and on until probably 9, 10 o'clock in the morning.
Well, I received an email from the neighborhood that we're discussing on this issue of a gentleman, kind of like the rooster. He works during the night, sleeps during the day. He's awakened by the noise of the kennel.
That's the calls I've got. I've got 2 calls.
A lot of people's in that situation now.
Yeah.
Well, so our guidance is for to continue looking at maybe a kennel specific language that may address those issues that the kennel would generate.
I think as we work our way through this, we'll find different combinations of things that we can live with. Now, in this case, and Chris, I'm glad you're still on. I'm going to ask you a question. I have a statement from a property owner connected to the kennel that we're having this effort about. And he said that he spoke with City Commissioner Ron Scott about the kennel and noise ordinance. He advised that the city and county does have an agreement that if noise from the county disrupts the city, there could be a citing. I don't know. That's a legal question, and you're the attorney. Is that possible to find out?
I mean, that's the first I've heard that, and still, like, how are we gonna prove it? You know, the decimal level and so forth. So, I've never heard that before.
Well, that's part of this discussion, in my opinion.
Work on finding that out.
And I can support this with written, and I know who made the statement, and I can support it that way.
Okay, yeah, if you could provide that to me, I'll look into it for sure.
All right. So we got more work to do, and we're going to refocus on a more specific cause and effect.
Well, my situation out where I live, these dogs bark 24/7. All day,
So would
all
you-
night.
Want something like this in your case?
Well, it would work in my case because you can start finding this guy, you know, if he didn't stop. And
It gives you
it's something to go.
It gives them something to go on.
So maybe
It's not gonna fit all.
maybe we just need to work on the process that I've got in here and the way we've spelled out the steps and see if I can come up with something softer or just go totally to the kennel. It's up to you.
I
You
don't
tell me.
know. I don't want this, you know. I need to solve Ronnie's problem and mine.
Well, we're gonna go back to the, how many ACOs do we have to have? You know, how many, I mean, to solve two dozen issues?
Where he's a breeder or trader.
I mean, I guess, yeah. I mean,
You know who I'm talking.
how many dogs are we talking, Ronnie? How many dogs are we talking?
How many dogs are you?
He's probably got, he did have 4 coon dogs. And
That's the problem, you got breed differentials.
they bark constantly, all day, all night.
Right. If you went and wanted to sell your property, would that affect the value, in your opinion? It's an opinion only. You won't know until the hammer falls, but if you limit your market, you affect the value of your property.
It, really where I'm at, I don't think it would affect my property value.
Okay. But you won't know until.
No, you don't know until you try to sell it.
He's hoping that they weren't barking, so I can't look at it.
Go there and get a bag of food.
This is really a quality of life. This is a quality of life issue. I mean, it is.
And Miss Julie will tell you, and I think, John, you may have been there, we've got some other people that have, in the way of nuisance, other complaints because of proximity to where they live that could affect their property value that are not barking dogs. And those kinds of things need to be addressed if we're going to address it on a broader basis.
And all we do is create a tool that allows someone to take it and use it if they so wish to.
Yeah.
Here's part of the issue, though. We live in the county because we want less restrictions. If you want to have, be bound by countless ordinances left and right, you move to the city where the city limits are. But if you want to enjoy the nice open air in spring and being surrounded by lots of acreage and farms, and there's some give and take along with that. Because we start opening up this can of worms where we do it for dogs, and like I said, next thing you know, it may not be under this court, but another court where we're gonna have people like, oh, these people's cows are mooing too loud.
Oh, no, KRS doesn't allow that.
I'm aware, but KRS changes.
Yeah.
So I understand, but you start that domino effect, and I mean, I have no problem with the dogs barking in my neighborhood. I made a conscious choice that I wanted to live out in the county where there's less rules and restrictions.
The difference in that matters because of the fact that you also are a dog owner,
I wasn't before I moved in.
but you had to get dogs to join
There's the logic trail.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I missed him on
I
something.
don't have a dog where I live.
them. That's me that don't want one.
I would love to have a dog. My wife don't.
Let's just take what we have.
Cows behind me that moo all the time, and I'm like, okay, I live in the county. That's part of it.
Well, there's a number of ways you can get your profit decreased. Somebody could move up the road from his gut and then start putting junk
Well,
everywhere.
that's what I was just gonna segue
But
into.
it's a
That's I've been doing kind of a loose list of areas that I've been asked to work on.
He brought up, yeah,
One
yeah.
is junk, and I don't know how else to say it, equipment piling up in people's yards.
Well, vehicles, cars on,
you
Yeah.
need to go.
Blowing grass into the road. Construction sites that spray their debris as they're pulling out of the sites and
Front
trash.
farms.
Those kind of things are on my list. And like,
their lawns are 10 inches or more.
Yeah. is that stuff you're wanting me to still look at?
Yes.
What is that?
It's not easy to legislate judgment of neighbor to neighbor associations. You treat people the way you want to be treated. And unfortunately, every now and then, somebody doesn't see it like that, and they take advantage.
Well, you get situations where the guy had the dogs to get away now. We put so much pressure on him that he's got old junk cars. He's got about 6 or 8. We got a problem.
That and Angie said there's a real problem in the county with people abandoning trailers and they're just becoming havens for
Whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever.
So that is one thing that she and I talked about. I can write all that up, and as I get them done, let you look at them, and we can
Well,
just
I mean,
one by one.
I've talked to Steve about this. There's a property maintenance code out there that we could implement.
Yes, she gave me that.
That would actually, and we piece out the things that don't work for the county. But I'd say that's a bigger issue than the barking nuisance dogs outside of the kennel issue.
Okay.
Or the 2 kennel issues or whatever. But I would love to have a property maintenance code because I have a problem right out front of my neighborhood. And a lot of people will hide behind all this. I'm zoned agricultural, so I don't have to clean up or whatever. But we really need to clean some of this up. You want to talk about property values, that's there. And when nobody has anything that they can do to enforce it, that's the bigger issue. I would love to see that one. Kennel and a property maintenance code is really what
I did talk to Angie about enforcement of some of these things, and I talked to the judge about this. We would need to deputize her, maybe Dwayne and James. If we're going to go down this route, we have to think about our enforcement practices here.
Yeah.
And she said she was deputized in Leslie County, I think, where she's from.
Mm-hmm.
So, just kind of keep the enforcement end of it. I will continue to write up some of this stuff and get it in front of you. And perhaps at the end of it, we'll have a nice nuisance ordinance or a section that we can address some of these problems. And we'll just keep.
I think it's important that the public know that we're ongoing evaluating, discussing the issues.
We've lost everybody.
Yeah.
It's a good
I'll
start.
ask Chris a question there.
He's got it.
Probably
Okay.
Got it.
Are you still on?
Yes.
I had an important question to ask you that hadn't been asked this morning, and that shows that we're not very caring people. I know you're restricted in, and your wife. How are you doing? And that was
Well, we're okay. My wife's not too bad. Yesterday she was not feeling great, but seems like she's doing better today, but now one of my daughters has a fever, so I don't know if we're going to need to go get her tested today. So I don't know. My quarantine could be extended, maybe. So.
Well, your daughter, worry about your little fellows.
Thank you.
If I help any runs or anything with your
Hey, let us know if we can help you in any way.
Yes.
Okay, well, really appreciate it. I'm glad though that I'm able to, use work from home and be able to get online and do this. So I'm not missing a beat here. So it's good.
Okay, you take care.
Thank you.
I'd like to move on if we've discussed that enough. So, thank you, Julie, for all that. Keegan, you're up on December financials.
I got these passed out to circulate around. We can come discuss it anytime you want. Other than that, I don't have anything on December financials. I'd like to give a little update though on our occupation tax and how we've been collecting there. I think y'all will be very pleased. It seems so far that the system that Julie and I came up with, along with everyone else, has worked very well. We've closed accounts that people have owed us money for 4 to 5 years. So, and it seems like we're on a hot track to collect some money on some bigger fish. There's a significant amount of money. So if we can keep doing that, it'll be good. But so far, it seems like the system's working, and I feel like everyone will be very pleased with what's going on. So give a shout out to our team. And it worked.
Great job.
It worked.
Teamwork.
I agree.
We all work so well together. I have to say it's a joy to work with.
Very good.
Makes a difference.
Very good.
Judge says the reason that should linger, right, Judge?
I didn't point the finger back at me. No.
We gotta work
Whatever.
together. That's it.
Yeah, we do. Committee reports, who'd like to go first?
Entity that I think Keegan was referencing there, where we're intensifying our collection efforts, and we're recommending we waive half the penalty on one entity that we're collecting on. 74. He also reported that 74% of the revenue had been collected by the end of the year. All of the CARES money has been received. The jail has collected 58% of their revenue, and we are wanting to and needing to do some additional work on jail revenue and expenditures as we move forward. And we need to continue to work with Jailer Wolford and make sure that he returns to attending the Joint Jail Committee meetings because of the importance of the budget aspect with that. And now that an agreement has been reached with Mercer County and making some improvements on the joint jail agreement. So that's the report for the Finance Committee. The meeting adjourned, and I'll move that we accept the Finance Committee report.
Good. Motion made to approve the Finance Committee report, made from Magic J. Is there a second? Second. Second from Magic Kennywood. Discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Raise your right hand.
Aye. Aye.
Like opposing sign likewise. Motion carries. Thank you for that. Next committee report. Is there any other committees to be reported this last meeting of January?
Now, we had one last meeting, right? We know he messed us quickly. Didn't really have a lot of stuff.
Did you cover? I'm thinking you covered that.
I did. Yeah.
You've already made your monthly report last time.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, thank you.
How about other committees?
Others.
Okay.
We don't have any to do.
No further committee reports. We'll go into new business. And I'd like to start with those on screen. Master Gay, why don't you go first with new business?
I have no new business to report either. I also, though, would like to wish County Attorney Herron and his family a speedy recovery and and hope they stay well. So that's
Thank you.
everybody else in the community.
Thank you. Master Dallas?
Yes, sir. First of all, you probably, if you have your phones or computers on, you see that we've gotten more reports from the detention center, and we have one staff member who's been hospitalized, and we need to track all that and congratulate our jailer, Brian Wolford, on their efforts over there. But it's still a serious matter as of this morning in the jail. Secondly, I'm very pleased to announce that last night, Roger Fox got a hold of me after seeing the article and the great concerns that Angie and I have expressed regarding litter all throughout the county. And Roger is saying when the weather breaks, he would like to volunteer men and women from the Shepherd's House to help us as volunteers on litter abatement. And I just see that as a wonderful move on their part, and I want to congratulate Roger Fox for making that. Third item, I've gotten a couple of inquiries from constituents and one from a Perryville commissioner, concerns that we're still looking after 22, 23 years on the initiation of Perryville Bridge discussions, and that's the reason that I was hoping Dwayne is still with us to see if there's any kind of an update that I can share with the City Commission of Perryville.
Yes, they, last word I had, they are preparing that to go to bid either in April or May.
Hope they'll expedite it.
Yes, that was the last word I heard, is they're preparing that, getting the packages ready to go, put out for bid either in April or May.
Thank you, Dwayne.
I will call to see if we can have it in April rather than May.
Thank you, Joe.
Many years ago, I sat in on a meeting that the state said, we're going to get that next summer. That was many, many years ago.
like WC Fields always said, I'll do it on Tuesday.
All right. What else, Tom?
That's it. Thank you, Judge.
All right. Thank you. That's a good one.
I actually also wanted to say thank you up to Angie and to all those that have been taking care of the trash pickup. Cleaned up our county pretty quickly, and there's more to do out there. But and I think that's all I had.
I know there was an article on the paper, a small one, but we are addressing those litter abatement issues as aggressively as we can from the county perspective. We do have some inmates that are participating with this Shepherd's House participation to augment what Angie and her staff are doing out there. That I think is going to, it's already starting to show benefits.
I think Joe had it on his news this morning. Joe did. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Judge, one more point on litter. For the media and therefore for the public, statewide, we spend more than $10 million in Kentucky for litter abatement, and that does not count what our detention inmates and others are doing all across the state. So it's substantially more than $10 million of taxpayer money.
All right, thank you, Tom. That's good information. Magistrate Short.
Yeah, I would also like to tell Chris that, we're praying for his family, that they'll get well quick. And also Angie and Waste Management for their effort picking up, I've had some good feedback on that where they've gone around and cleaned up our county, and we thank you for that. Schools is supposed to start back next week, as far as I know, and they're going back on an AEC and a BC schedule. Fridays there'll be no school, but that is the thought right now, starting school back. And I would never go back to school. These kids will be too. That's it.
All right, thank you. What you say?
Only thing I'd just like to pull what Tom said about the jailer. I think he's done a good job with the way he's handled this with his staff and the inmates. And to thank Brian for the job he's done. And also, I'd like to express my gratitude to Miss Julie for the outstanding work that she's done on not only the ordinance, the other thing, but the occupational license. My best friend there, Mr. I can't remember his name, I thought it was Ringo. The job they've done and the work and the way they're working together, I think it's just wonderful. Like I said.
Thank you. Thank you. There's Kaywood.
Just a couple of things. I know Angie's been respectfully and correctly thanked for her work trash, and I've stayed on her a little bit about the stretch between Maple Avenue and the bypass, and it looks great now, and I cannot thank her and her crew, and Dwayne probably had a hand in it. All those involved, they got it done, and I really do appreciate it. And it makes the entryway to the dam look just 100% better. So, next, I know sometimes I get carried away. I want to share with you something in reading the minutes of the Bluegrass ad. You think I'd have something better to do, I know. I'll pass out the Bluegrass Economic Development Advisory Committee meeting on December the 3rd. And when I read the minutes, an area struck me that talked about other counties and some of the issues they have in going through economic development. We think we may be the only ones going through some of the issues that we have here locally. I'm going to share with you some of the other counties. I thought I want to give this to my fellow magistrates and people who work with us together. You can read about the problems, similar problems in other counties that we have. It's just help you to know there's others that feel our pain, and they're going through the same pain. So when you get a moment, take that and learn what goes on in Central Kentucky.
We'll make sure that Magistrate Allison.
I'll put this in y'all's boxes, Jamie and Tom. I'll put a copy in your box.
Thank you.
Last but not least, he is not. He's not an employee of the county but in some ways he is, because he works for all those. Jody had a heck of a week, and his father and his mother was in critical condition, but I understand she's doing better in a car wreck, and it's so sad. But I would like to ask for consideration that we adjourn in the memory of Jody's father, Mr. Lassiter, in his memory and Jody's loss.
Okay, thank you. That's good. Good recommendation. I appreciate that.
That's all I had, Judge.
All right, thank you. Thank you. Chris, thank you.
Yeah, just real quick. I've gotten a lot of emails, calls, and so forth about second notices for occupational tax that wasn't collected, that, we sent out requesting to be paid for. So I just wanted to, anybody watching, let them know that, I think that was a mistake, that the second notices were sent out to some people because some people had already paid. And it's my understanding that maybe a apology letter is being sent out on that, but that was an error. And just want to apologize to those that received that and that had already paid. And that's about it. Also, just remind you, Judge, that at 1:00 today, we're have the conference call on the Crawford House. And there was an article, I don't know if you saw it, but there was an article in the paper yesterday in the Advocate that talked about the Crawford House. So it's kind of interesting, kind of summarized, the history of it and, how it's been conveyed back and forth over the years. So, but yes, our meeting's at 1:00 today.
All right, thank you. Thank you. I believe we have no further business for the court. This has been to me, a positive court session today. We've had a lot of good discussion. We're not, we're addressing those issues that are important to the public, whether it be vaccination, whether it be nuisances of any way, shape, or form. And I really appreciate everybody's diligence in discussing these issues that are important to the county. I would like to entertain a motion to adjourn and adjourn us in as recommended by Master K. Wood. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
And motion made by Magistrate Short and seconded by Magistrate Cullen. I would like to adjourn this regularly scheduled January 26th session of Fiscal Court in memory of Jerry B. Lassiter, the father of Jody Lassiter, who met an untimely passing in an accident. So we are regretful, sympathetic, and sorry in his passing. And notice that Jody is an integral part of this county's economic development, and we wish he and his family the best and offer our assistance where we can be of any assistance to him going forward. So we adjourn in memory of Jerry B. Lassiter on this day, 26 January 2021. Thank you for your attendance. We stand in adjournment.
Thank you, Judge.